Marhaba, and welcome to the Matrix Green Pill, where real people connect.
Welcome to the Matrix Green Pill podcast. I'm your host, Hilmarie Hutchison, and today we have the privilege of welcoming Katrena Friel. With a resume boasting international keynote speaking, executive coaching, and award-winning authorship, Katrena brings a dynamic edge to personal and professional development. Her approach challenges beliefs and behaviors, igniting transformative change. Katrena, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Hi from Sydney, Australia. Great to be here.
Fantastic. Let's get started by learning a bit about you and your background.
Yes, of course. Gosh, I entered the field about 25 years ago, and I think it's even more than that now. I think my first time that I realized that there was something else other than the normal world was when I was about 25. I had my first sort of spiritual awakening with my first teacher. And then I met my next teacher and did all of the NLP, prac and master prac and train the trainer. She introduced me to her matrix therapies and various world-class transformational tools. And I still use that to this day. And as they say, when the student is ready, the teachers appear.
Let's go back before 25. So you grew up in Australia. What was the dream growing up and what did you start out doing before you found your mission?
Well, I grew up on the North Shore of Sydney. So that's the beautiful harbour area of the beautiful Sydney. So I always love to say I'm born and bred in Sydney. Just a normal childhood from an Australian point of view. And I was a dancer. So ballet dance, training 6 days a week from the age of 5 right through to the end of high school. We're dancing pretty seriously. And I thought I was going to be a ballerina. Which is ridiculous because there was nobody that can seem to make it. I think there was only 1 or 2 that I know of in my field where they actually made a living out of it.
Wow, so very competitive field, very difficult to make a name for yourself. Then what inspired you to enter the field of personal and professional development?
Well, what was happening to me is whatever job I was in, no matter where I went, and I had quite an extensive career in various jobs before I ended up in my own business. But everywhere I went, I was always sort of coaching and counselling and talking with people, but at a very deep level. My conversations were never normal or basic. They were always these what I call deep and meaningful conversations. And that's the way I liked it. But in those days, I didn't even know what I was doing naturally. I was coaching and I was counseling and I was mentoring just naturally. And I just then discovered that there was actually an industry called coaching. And I remember seeing this colour ad. And in those days, ads were not coloured. They were, normally black and white. This must have been one of the first colour ads. And I saw this ad for come and invest in a coaching business. And so I invested with this guy in this coaching business and very soon into it realised I'd actually been scammed. Sort of went to my lawyers and said, I want to sue this guy and get my money back. It was at that point that I realised that I needed to learn a $30,000 lesson. And so I learnt the $30,000 lesson. I never went forward with the lawsuit, but realised that I could do it myself and that I had what I needed inside of me. I didn't need this guy, for heaven's sakes. And so it was a hard learning, but that was my first experience straight out of my JOBs. So it was pretty frightening and pretty awful start. The rest is history, as they say. That's the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey.
Can you describe a moment or experience that significantly influenced your approach to coaching and mentoring?
With my teacher, her name's Pip Mackay and she's about to retire, but I believe she's one of the greatest coaches on the planet, and really learning from her over the past 20 years has just been pivotal in my sort of development as a coach. And over the last 20 years, evolving my business into a business mentor type offering rather than pure coaching in its actual form. What I've developed over these last 20 years for my clients is quite unique and holistic, very, very different from what other people are offering in the industry, I believe.
So we keep on talking about, you've mentioned it a few times now, but can you explain to our audience exactly what you do?
The business is called Becoming the Expert. I have a business in corporate training and executive coaching. And whenever I was out there doing that, training people in the corporate area around leadership management with one of my signature programs, there was always one person in the group that would come up to me afterwards and say, I want to do what you're doing. How do I do what you do? Years and years ago, I started to think about, well, how do I do what I do? And that's evolved now into this sort of startup program that I've created where it's a done for you model. People all set up in their own business within 90 days with their own book that's gone #1 bestseller, their own brand, which includes their website and social media. It also includes their keynote speech. So that could be like a TED Talk kind of thing. And then their $10,000 or $20,000 signature program all set up, ready to go. So within 90 days, I've done all that for them. And then I spend the rest of the 12-month program teaching them how to get out there and become the expert in their field of excellence with these 7 streams of income underpinning what it is that they do. And so it's a very exciting kind of process, but I love it. And before COVID, it was 80-20. So 20% of my business was doing that. 80% of my business was corporate training, executive coaching, and speaking out there in the marketplace. Once COVID hit, that flipped and went 80% into Becoming the Expert program because people suddenly weren't so scared anymore and were able to push through and make the decision to become the expert in their field of excellence. And there I was waiting. It was great.
When people meet you, when you're doing this corporate training or your executive coaching, there are people that just innately know that this is what they need to do, which is the way you felt when you got scammed out of $30,000. So you took that lesson and you've created, instead of a scam, you've actually created a solution to help people get started in what they feel their future is, their vision, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's ironic, isn't it, how that happens? I always say to my clients, the clues are all in your past story. It's all there. So all I do to find out what their destiny is and what their field of excellence is going to be is I have a look at all those sort of clues. And in my story, you can see the clue was there all along. And with the $30,000 that I was ripped off, I think what happened to me is I overcompensate now. I want to give so much value. And so my program is almost too good to be true because you get so much in the show bag that it's bursting full of value. And it is a direct response to what happened to me. I want to make sure people feel like, gosh, this is the best buy I've ever had. And it's the best buy I'll ever have for the rest of my life. Every other buy after this is going to look shit.
In what ways has the landscape of personal and professional development changed in the last decade?
I've watched everything come through. So back in the day, it was just the big boys doing their big gatherings and blogging, coaching and training programs. And then online took off. It really, really took off and everyone started to create all these cheap and cheerful online kind of programs. And the statistics were 75% of people don't even open the online programs that they've purchased. All along, I was doing this done for you model. Then in the last sort of 5 years, everything now is switching back around to what I was always doing, and that is done for you. And done for you is now in fashion. And everyone's saying, oh shit, people aren't doing the work. People are spending all this money, but where's the transformation? Where's the stuff? Where is the leap that's meant to have happened? And my belief is that things are so complicated and so hard that people need to be held to account. They need their hand held. And so I want to see people with a done for you model so that the work gets done and the result is received. And the money isn't wasted. Yeah, it's great to see I was onto something all along. It's great to see done for you in fashion. And I think what's happening now with the personal development industry is that people are sick of being flogged off to the non-expert. My belief is that people should always work directly with the expert, the one with the 20 years experience, the one with the depth of knowledge, rather than their train the trainer people. Do you know what I mean? The ones that have only learnt it for the last 6 months or the last 3 months or whatever. I think people are getting pretty sick of those sort of shallow approaches. I think that you're always better off paying a little bit more for the actual source, the original designer of a program, the one that has the wisdom and the depth. And that's what we're seeing happen in the industry, I think.
Are there still scammers in the field? And how do you tell who's a scammer and who's not?
With social media, what you're seeing is some people are very, very good at the social media side of it, but it doesn't mean that they've got the wisdom and the depth of knowledge behind that. They're just very good at social media. And I think what's really disappointing is the people who haven't got across the social media landscape properly, who may not look good with the ego numbers, numbers in engagement or likes or comments or all of that stuff. The real experts, the real authorities in their field, if you talk to any of them, they all hate social media because that's not where the wisdom is. We don't just give it away day after day, 5 times a day, posting this and that. That's not where you learn properly. That's marketing. So it's a shame. Some people just, are good at marketing. They're not necessarily going to be able to deliver the program for you or the results that you need. So I think that's a bit sad at the moment with the social media stuff.
So it's the people who's good at the marketing, not necessarily good at doing the job, that's probably getting people to sign up for whatever they're offering without, as you said earlier, without having the depth and the real experience to make sure to help whoever is signing up for the program to really benefit from it. Let's just talk a little bit about your corporate training and executive coaching side of things. In your experience, what common barriers do people face in their personal and professional evolution?
One of the things that I've talked most about over 25 years has been confidence. Most people come to me with a confidence issue. And what I teach most of all is the structure of confidence. And if you just visualize now for me a triangle, and I'm going to put on 3 sides. The first side is self-belief. You've got to believe that you can to be confident in something. Then the other side of it is self-value. To be confident, you have to think that that thing's going to add value to you or to your career or to your life in some way. And then the final side of the triangle is self-assurance. And that is you've got to practice enough to get good at it so you feel quite self-assured around it. And when those 3 things, self-belief, self-value, and self-assurance, are in balance, you are confident on that issue. And so once you realize how to coach yourself, so whenever you're feeling not confident, find out which of these 3 are out of balance. Do you believe you can? Is that where the problem lies? Or does it not add enough value for you to be motivated, to be bothered with it? And that's why you're still not confident on that thing. Or have you just simply not done it enough to get good at it yet? Confidence is the main thing that is a common barrier. And once you know how to coach around that, it makes life a little easier. Within that issue, there is assertiveness issues. So the key issues within assertiveness is the inability to say no, people pleaser, and the inability to speak up and speak out. And so what I'm working with most people about is these things: confidence, assertiveness, and within that, inability to say no, people pleaser, and speak up and speak out. So once I start to work with those common barriers, people start to layer in all these things through the program. So when they're working with me, whether it's on the leadership management piece or whether it's in the Becoming the Expert program, either or, it's all being dealt with. Those common barriers are being dealt with because they're there within all of us. I know when I worked on these things in my career, they made the biggest difference to my life and career and business. And now I teach it.
That makes a lot of sense. It's those 2 things, confidence and assertiveness, really impact so many people. Could you maybe share a success story that exemplifies the impact that you've had, whether that's on the corporate training, executive coaching side or on your new program?
Well, I have this philosophy called inspire, align, and activate. Every single one of my clients will usually meet me through my speaking. That's the inspire bit. So I believe we all should be out there speaking, whether that's on a podcast, a webinar, or on the actual physical stage. That's all speaking as far as I'm concerned. And that's the inspire bit. Then the next part is the align bit. And this is where I'll do like a free discovery session after people have heard me speak, and I'll discuss with them their future. And the purpose of that is to align them with their destiny, align them with their life purpose, align them with their soul purpose. What they're doing in their life is their true contribution, and it's aligned with their gifts and their passions and all those things. So they feel fulfilled and that they have sort of meaning in their life. If they aren't aligned to that, then they'll feel empty, stressed out, burnt out, disappointed, upset, and just not engaged in life or their career. And then the final piece is the activate part, and that's where they do the work. People have to do the work. The program, build the personal brand business in 90 days. That's the work. And within that, you're going to get all the psychological, all the personal development, professional development that you need, all the psychological therapeutic interventions that you need. And that's the activate bit. So inspire first, then align them, and then activate them. And we do that together with all my clients. They all go through that journey. And that journey, as I said, includes doing a book. A lot of people don't want to do a book or don't think they need to do a book, or I don't know, everyone sort of secretly dreams of doing a book but think it's hard. And we do the book first. And that's because it lays down the first layer of confidence about who you are, what you stand for, what your message is, what's your philosophy. Once you've done that into a book, you can then create a talk out of that and take that talk, that philosophy talk, out into the world and help people regardless of whether they work with you or not. Out of that book, we create a brand. Out of that brand, we create all the assets like websites, socials, etc. And out of all of that, we create the signature program, which is the big piece. This is where the book comes alive. This is where the signature program might be, say, a 3-day retreat, a 2-day workshop, a 1-day workshop, a half-day workshop, an online program. All of those formats are automatically created. But first, you've got to create the big signature program first. The format is the easy bit. It's sort of how it all works in my mind. Anyway, 25 years down the track, it's still going.
It's amazing. So for somebody who is passionate about wanting to do what you do, to want to help people, as you say, to have all these parts laid out for them, when you get into something you don't know, you might have a passion, but there's all the technical things and all the groundwork that needs to be laid that can just waste your time, sidetrack you, so you don't actually reach your goal. By you laying out the program, you help that person get to where they're going in a much quicker, direct way, and probably save a lot of money and time because they get to the goal to where they need to go. So we were talking about success stories around this. Have you got any success stories?
I'm still working with this client 6 years in. I consider them to be a strategic partner. Once you get to that level, that's where the relationship goes. After the first year, sort of client-student relationship. Second year, you're equals, because hopefully I've imparted everything I know to that person and now we're equals. They know what I know. And then by the 6th year, you're working in an integrated way. And they hit $1 million in that, I think it was their 3rd year. That $1 million mark was amazing. They've gone on to build quite a team. She's sort of thinking about sort of semi-retirement, but still being in the business, doesn't want to let the business go, but, is thinking about sort of stepping back from that day-to-day grind. And, has a business partner that's been brought on. So I'm their MC at their conference every year. I am their business mentor for their organisation, sales coach for their sales team. It's just amazing. It's like family. And even though I work by myself normally, I feel like I'm part of their family. And that just makes life so much more rewarding to have these meaningful relationships. She's a great story, a really great story. And in fact, what we created for her was a industry body. So within their industry, they are the institute. Incredible.
Gratifying and satisfying to see the impact that your work has had on someone else, that they have realized so much success and you help them lay that foundation.
Yeah, I was there at the birth. It's amazing.
Absolutely fantastic. Now I'm going to throw you a bit of a curveball and say, is there a piece of advice that you find yourself giving to others that you find challenging to follow yourself?
On the body side of things, I love stimulation. So mentally, I'm happy. Mentally. Emotionally, I'm very supported. I've got a 37-year happily married. We had no kids by choice. So that's a really good thing to some of those parents who get no rest. We get a lot of rest and we do it for you. On the body side of it, what I'd really love to see is that our health is our wealth. So if, one of the things we have to look after is our voice, our sleep, and look after the physical side of the body. I'm good at doing all the other parts, emotional and mental and spiritual, but not great with the physical. And having learnt that lesson really early with 2 burnouts all before I was 25, I knew that if I didn't sort that out, I probably would be dead before 40. I'm now 55, still going strong, but I think it's more important than ever now to really tackle the physical part of what we do. I travel a lot, but I am a bionic sleeper. And I find a lot of my clients get stressed out by the little things in life. And I think one of the things I'm good at is not stressing about the little things. And what I look for, and I believe to be the greatest luxury in the world today, is inner peace. That's the piece of advice, is that all this business stuff, as much as I love business and as much as I love building businesses for people, it's really about building a business that is a great asset to your life, not one that's going to create the hustle culture within your life. I work hard, there's no doubt about it, but it doesn't feel like work to me. It's a joy, it's play, it's fun. And so what I want to do for my clients is show them they don't need to build an empire where they have 10 staff, 10 VAs, all bothering them every single day, but create a business that's quite self-contained, that requires little impact from others. You can just hire what you need when you need it, project by project, and look for inner peace. Don't build a business on ego. Build a business for inner peace, where you're free to do what you want, when you want to, and work with exactly who brings you joy every single day. And that's what I believe I've built, and that's what I try to give to my clients. I really don't want them building a business that's just requires 50 people to run it and they're really just working to pay those wages. It's not fun.
That's an excellent advice for people to look for inner peace. You're not looking for necessarily, like, as you say, wealth or a huge company. It's the inner peace that counts at the end of the day.
I know my number one value is freedom. And so freedom to do what I want on the projects that I want to work with, people that I love. I think that is a luxury that not a lot of people have. And what I see out there is just being busy, social media posting. Social media is running everybody's life. Everyone's built their lives around social media. And is that really giving you the results? Is that really giving you the inner peace that you deserve? Is that keeping you present and grounded in your life? I'm seeing a lot of pain out there.
That was really, really good advice. Now it's time for our game show. Are you ready to dive in and tackle some quick fire questions?
Yeah.
Morning person or night owl?
Oh, look, I think naturally I'm a nighter, but I have trained myself for early mornings, and I get up every morning and look out there and it's just glorious. I love nature. I love swimming in the sea. I'm kind of probably a nice blend of both these days, but naturally I can stay up all night long and I can work till midnight and not feel tired at all.
One productivity hack you swear by?
Your inbox is a reflection of your mind. So if you are overwhelmed, go and have a look at your inbox, clean that up, get rid of everything. Just have the 5 things you haven't done in there. The rest all has to be filed away or gotten rid of, and that will change your life. And really, your desk is a reflection of your mind. So your house is a reflection of your mind. If you start with your inbox and then work outwards, but decluttering, I think, is a secret to success.
What is a favorite way to unwind after a busy day?
Oh, my dog. My husband comes home at the end of every day and gives me a beautiful coffee, and that's how we start our evening together. So anything to do with my dog, coffee, or my husband, in that order.
I love it. If you weren't in your current profession, what would you be doing instead?
Oh, look, I probably would have been a psychologist, probably not a psychiatrist. I wouldn't like that. But psychology, organizational psychology, one of those HR manager people. I'm all about the people piece. What can I say?
Well, that was the end of the game show. Thank you for playing along. That was easy. Now, before we wrap up, we'd like to do our green pill moment. What was your green pill moment, the action or event that was the turning point for you or your career?
I was at work one day and I had this weird abdomen sort of pain, and my colleague said, you better go to the doctors. It's getting pretty bad. And it turned out that I was actually pregnant. I never wanted to have children. I've been saying that since I was 16, and I had met my husband at 18, and we'd got married on my honeymoon at 21. And so it was really quite a shock at this point to actually be pregnant. Long story short, I lost the baby after 10 weeks to extreme grief for both myself and my husband, because it was just so weird to have that happen. And that experience just simply changed every cell in my body. I left my corporate job soon after that. I got the scan, got ripped off, and that was really just the turning point of my whole life. It really pushed me onto path, and that was my entrepreneurial journey. It was all about getting me out of JOBs into my own business, and that experience did that.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing such a personal experience. And I am sorry for the loss of your baby. That must have been terribly traumatic. But as you say, it made it a change in your life, a turning point.
Complete change, yeah.
I am so sure our audience is going to really be so inspired by listening to your story. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wisdom with us today. Before we wrap up, could you please tell our listeners where they can connect with you and follow your work?
Yeah, so the website is becomingtheexpert.com.au, becomingtheexpert.com.au, and you can jump on there and see all my blogs and whatnot. The main thing is, if you're connecting with me and you feel it in your heart to reach out and you want some alone time, just to have a free discovery session, feel free to book in. It's all there on the website, and we can just go a little bit deeper on some of these topics that we've talked about today and just see how it all applies to you right here, right now. We're living in a really strange moment in history. I think we can go one way or the other. We want the right people out there helping the people of the world. And so if you can feel that pull in your heart to help others, the question is, how specifically do you need to help others? I know how I do it. You know how you do it. But for those of you who don't know, a little session with me will probably sort that out within about 15 minutes.
That's fantastic. And thank you for all you do. And thank you for creating this program, because honestly, it's making it so much easier for people with the passion, with the vision for what they want to do. It helps them on that path to reach where they're going. I think it's a fantastic system and program that you have developed. So thank you very much for that. And thank you again for being here. I'll definitely be following you and what you do next. And I wish you all the very best.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you and your beautiful listeners. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much. And to our listeners, if you've enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to share it with your friends, subscribe to the podcast, and leave us a 5-star review. Your support means the world to us.
If you enjoy our conversations, please like and subscribe. See you next Wednesday.